The air filtration system has been a hot topic on my channel. I've been battling through what would be the best way to filter out air after printing a lot of different materials on my 3D printer. Now, as I've gotten more educated on this topic, PETG and PLA, and at times TPU, those filaments are fine even if you're breathing in the same room. But I have been printing a lot more of ABS and ASA, and those are definitely not filaments that you want to be inhaling. So in one of my previous videos, I showed you how I added this DIY advanced air filtration system for the Prusa Core 1, and it worked fairly fine. It does have the carbon filter, it has the HEPA filter, and my still assumption was maybe that reduces the smell of all filaments, but it doesn't do a great job of it. I've been printing with the ASA filament a lot for the new product that I just launched. And when I'm printing that, it takes hours to print, and I have the printers in the same room. I even thought of putting both of my printers inside the closet that I have and somehow arranging them so I can close the door and it can be printing in there and have a air purifier. So if I want to go in, the air is pretty much filtered and it's a small enough room, so I shouldn't really have any troubles. But it didn't end up working out. I have these shelves for storage and I think I wanted them there more than all of the stuff being outside in my office. So I decided to keep the printers where they were. Now I did move them right under the window and I will tell you exactly what I did. Now, the more I print with ASA, even before the advanced filtration system that I installed, I could still smell the filament in the air, and that is clearly not a good indication, and you should not be breathing that. So I added the advanced filtration system, and it still smelled. So I still thought, okay, it's still in the air. Maybe the number of particles have reduced, but still not gone. So since then, I have been on a journey of figuring out what would be the best way to filter it. And I think I've finally landed on a solution that it has been working great for me for the last 2 weeks. And I've been printing continuous ASA and ABS, and I've had no problems, no smell whatsoever. So I installed this fan from Amazon, and this fan seems to be mostly used in kitchens or restaurants where they want to exhaust out the air. So I thought if kitchens with all of that cooking material, if it can exhaust all of that, I'm sure it can help with my two 3D printers. So that's what I did. I bought one of them, but the one issue of where I live is there are these window limiters. It cannot open the window more than a certain height. So I actually had to get permission from my apartment to open it more than that. And the only reason being because there's no actual grill behind it. And if you have small kids, you don't want them accidentally jumping off, which is totally fair. But if you don't have children, you can actually take those limiters off if you get permission. So once I took those things off, it was actually pretty simple for me to just put that on there. Now I went in between a lot of different ways of how I wanted to mount it on there. Maybe I wanted to 3D print something, but 3D printing a whole mount for it and then putting it inside the window, it just wasn't the best. And the window actually has this grill at the very front, so the bugs don't come in. So I didn't want to get rid of that, but the fan is still thick enough that it needed more space. So I essentially got the frame of the fan just tucked inside the window just enough. So when I close the window, it will keep the fan right in the spot. So I don't have to really worry about it not being in place. Now, because the window is open so much, it has all of that other empty space. Now I could put tape on there, but that wouldn't work so well. And then because it gets really cold and hot outside, I don't want the temperature fluctuations to cause my AC to be just going 24/7. And in winter, it would just freeze out my whole office. The tape is not gonna insulate me. So that was a second problem I had to solve. So for that one specifically, I had these soundproofing foam things laying around, and I have used these before on my wall. And I thought if I layer these foam things correctly, I think I could really insulate me from the temperature fluctuations that can happen outside. So I pretty much jerry-rigged these foam pallets on right next to the fan in between the window and that bug grill that we have in front. And I layered them in a way where it doesn't look too bad and I could just tape it on in the front and it would just look fine. And because I put 2, if not 3 layers at times of this thick foam, since I have installed it, the temperatures in here have been totally fine. Now the fan does have those little slits that are open, but the great thing about this fan is on top of the grill that is in front that was already on the window, it has those flaps in front that close when it's not being in use because with the airflow, it just opens automatically. So I didn't worry as much about bugs coming in. I did have some worries, but in the last 2 weeks, I don't think so there's been any bugs coming in. And the temperature, I honestly can tell the difference when it's super hot outside. In the rest of the apartment, it will stay much colder, but in my office, it will get just a little warmer, which is fine. And that's at the cost of a little higher temperature in summers and maybe a little colder in the winter for having cleaner air. And that was a much more fairer trade-off that I could make here. Okay, installing the fan was the number one thing I had to get done. I put the foam things right next to it, duct tape the whole thing so the fan stays in place. Even when the fan is going full speed, it stays in place, doesn't move. Temperatures have been totally fine, not too bad. Now, all I had to figure out was how do I get air straight from my printer to the fan? So one of the earliest things I tried with my printer was getting this vent thing connected onto my printer and straight out of the window. It didn't work as well as I was hoping because this thing would be totally open. It would seep cold air into the printer and it was not good. And I needed some way where the printers don't change with the temperature that's outside. They still stay at room temperature, but still can expel the air out of the office. So I had the perfect vent laying around in my office. I duct taped the heck out of this thing onto the advanced filtration system. I duct taped the whole thing. So all of the air from the advanced filtration system goes straight through the duct, and the duct's other end is pointed at the fan, and the fan blows at high speeds that anything that's coming out of the printer, literally anything from the back, goes straight out the window and does not stay in the office. Now, to test that, initially what I did was I printed with this PLA, and this PLA has really strong sweet smell, and I can very easily tell when I'm printing with PLA versus any other filament. So what I did was print with it with the fan full speed, and I printed for 4 hours and I could not smell anything. It was almost like no printer has been running for hours. That was the test that really told me, oh, this thing actually works. This has solved all the problems that I had with this advanced filtration system and the filtration in general. Right now, it is a manual process of when I'm printing with ASA or ABS, I have the remote on my desk, actually right here, and I usually turn it on. And if I know the print is gonna go for like 3 hours, it has 3 settings, like low, medium, high. So I'll put it on high and I'll put the timers like 4 hours and 5 hours. And that way, once the print finishes, the printer still actually expels some air to make sure everything in there is filtered. So the fan can just run for an extra couple minutes so everything is clean. What I can do is have some sort of software where it looks at the printer and the printer can tell, oh, I'm printing with these filaments like XYZ filaments. And whenever it starts printing with them, the fan can automatically turn on high speeds and it'll keep going. 30 minutes after the print finishes, the fan can stay on. And then the software automatically tells the fan, okay, you can turn off. Maybe I can put like a Raspberry Pi or ESP32. I could do any of those. I do have smart plugs that I can connect with Apple Home. There's a lot of ways I can automate it, but for the most part, I keep the fan on. And another thing is I like to keep a positive airflow. So I have a fan on my door of my office, which blows air into the office. And then this thing blows air out. So even if it's printing, even if it's not printing, throughout the day, it just filters and keeps a cleaner air because I also work in here all day. Now, as of right now, as you can see, it is only installed on one of my printers instead of both. I do make sure that the printer that does not have the exhaust on it, I don't print ASA or ABS on it as of right now. One thing I did mention in the last video and I still haven't gotten to is getting a air quality monitor where it has the PM 2.5, I believe, or I believe it goes smaller than that. Because 3D printing, the particles are much smaller, so you have to get a very expensive air quality monitor. And I haven't done that, but I have done more like how uncomfortable I feel. And I used to get a scratchy throat when printing with PETG all day long and being in the same office without this exhaust. And that has gone away since I've been doing this system. So that kind of has solved pretty much all of my problems. Now, if you ask me, do I recommend this system? I would say, yeah, go for it. The foam thing is a very DIY thing that I had laying around. Maybe you get a custom foam cutout for you, or you go to Lowe's and get yourself a foam piece and you cut it to exactly the dimensions of the window and fill that out. I think that would be good. You gotta make sure that you don't get bugs in, and also the thermal control to make sure outside temperature doesn't get into your office as much. But just getting one exhaust fan and having air blown into my office from my apartment and going straight out has pretty much solved all of my issues. Now in the future, whenever I do get a particle monitor, like the air quality monitor, I will make sure to make a follow-up video and compare it with and without and see how that actually compares with actual numbers. And that's it for this follow-up video. Please let me know if you have any questions on this system. I will link everything that I've talked about in the description of this video. So pick this fan for yourself. There are fans that blow even faster than this. I didn't need that, but you may, and you may have more printers than me. So hopefully that helps you. And yeah, thank you for watching. Until next time.